Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music, and today I'm going to take a playbook from the minimalist composer Steve Reich and the modern dancers of the 70s. We're going to talk about accumulation, when you keep adding things on. How much can we add? So accumulation is a great idea. It just means I have something and I add something else. I keep those two things and I add a third thing. Then there's a fourth and a fifth. Well, if you have a long melodic phrase that you like and you need to make a much longer piece of music, what if you start with the first few notes and then repeat those? We know repetition legitimizes. Here, listen to this long phrase. It's where we're going to wind up. Let's look at it. We're going to do something at the end too, which I call integration, which is a great Steve Reich concept, but it's a different kind of accumulation. Let's look at this one first, which, by the way, is sort of stolen from the modern dancers of New York's Judson Church scene. Well, it's a jaunty little phrase. And what I decided to do was just make that chunk repeat. And then I just kept backing into cutting out the end of the phrase and repeating it. So you can see the green bars here as we listen to the thing represent sort of regions that I've done in Logic. We could do this any number of ways, or you could just write it out and hand it to your violinist. First phrase again, second phrase. First phrase, second phrase, third phrase. It's kind of like the 12 Days of Christmas, isn't it? The listener's experience keeps getting peaked at the end of each phrase. The phrase gets longer and longer, and we have to pay a little more attention to it. We're almost at the end. And of course, I don't let it resolve. That kind of accumulation phrase can be very effective in canon, that is to say, things entering at different times, and layered textures as well. It's a sort of a simple way to take some good material that may be kind of short and extend it into a longer experience. So that was about a minute that we just had right there. Well, I want to talk about one more kind of accumulation, and I think of it as integration. Imagine you have a phrase of some length, and there are, 40 notes in it, and I don't know exactly what I did, but it's like that, right? Let's say you start off and you only play a couple notes out of that phrase. The next time around, you add a few more, and then a few more until eventually everything's there. This is the approach that Steve Reich used in Steve Reich used in building all of the gradually, increasingly intense phrases in Music for 18 Musicians, and again, and then things slip in and out of phase relationships. Well, let's look at a little thing that I did here. Well, if you look up here, you can see the gradually increasingly complicated versions of each of the phrases. I think what we'll do is we'll just play it from the beginning. And it starts off very straightforward with sort of a repetitive shaker pattern and a simple little melodic rhythm. Here we go. And then we add textures. The listener sort of notices, oh yeah, oh, what was that? I call this integration because we're bringing things into an existing framework. But it's also a kind of accumulation. And now we're at the entire phrase. And of course, it's possible to pull things out, and that's what I'm doing here. Pull out something. Pull out something else. Pull out something else. Pull out something else. And just for fun, let's hear the whole thing again at the end. In the background, you can hear Valhalla's Supermassive, giving me kind of a drone effect almost with all those instruments. Well, it's a great way to get all of the notes in the scale going at once. It's kind of an example of pandiatonic harmony. How many of the notes of the scale was I playing there? 6. That's always the answer with me. Well, I hope this has been useful. Like and subscribe and ding the bell. You'll be notified when I do my next video. I'll see you next time.